What's up, everybody? Real Rendezvous in the house. Hunter Higgins, Brett, Michael Prickett. I don't know why I did her full names that time.
Yeah, full government drop right there.
Well, Hunter Gregory Higgins, if we're going to go full name. So just so y'all know.
Lives at 123 Camden Avenue.
Okay, I don't.
In Toronto, Canada.
There's a Camden Avenue in Toronto, Canada?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
When have you been to Toronto?
I'm just saying shit. I don't know.
What's up, Brett? What's going on?
Anyone listening in Canada, let me know if there's a Camden Avenue anywhere in Toronto.
There probably is.
I mean, statistically, there's got to be.
Yeah.
Maybe not specifically Toronto, but
I feel like Toronto's a big city. It would probably have plenty of streets with random names.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
Not a ton. There never is. I've just been working my ass off. They worked me 6 days last week for a total of 50 hours on Thanksgiving. So that was fun.
I was there with you, buddy, working on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's been part of the issue of us trying to saddle up and record here.
Yeah, well, right. Well, we were going to do it originally, and then everyone in my family got sick. And so we couldn't do it then. And then we had the holidays. But that's all behind us. Thanksgiving was great. Did you enjoy Thanksgiving?
Of course. Grandparents always do great cooking.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Aunt Jamie. Making a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner for all of us.
I was about to say, grandparents always do great cooking, but Jamie, the real MVP.
Jamie came through.
Yeah, it was delicious and nutritious.
Yeah, it was really good. I hope everyone else who celebrates enjoyed their Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed your holiday break. Anyone who's in school. I know that finals week is coming up now. Or is it finals?
I don't know.
Something's happening with people who are in college in the next 2 weeks where they have big dumb tests.
I'm almost 30 years old. I'm well removed from the college era.
And I haven't gone yet. But if you're in college, I heard you guys got some dumb stuff coming up before Christmas. So good luck with that.
Look at us, a couple of non-college guys just talking about college.
And that's why we have a podcast.
We're smart. So we are going to be reviewing, which we've done this genre in the past, Western, but I feel like this is really more of like a true to form Western.
Quick and the Dead, the last Western we did. Good movie. We enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But, it was a bit more campy. We had Sam Raimi at the helm.
Yes.
So, that's sort of his forte.
And we love Sam Raimi.
We love the camp.
Yeah.
But this one, in comparison to Quick and the Dead, 3:10 to Yuma is definitely more of a traditional a Western.
And like Brett just said, that's the reveal of what we will be reviewing.
Did you not say it?
I didn't say it.
I thought...
No, that's all right.
I thought you said the name.
We will be reviewing 3:10 to Yuma. Came out in 2007, directed by James Mangold. Pretty excited to talk about this movie. Neither of us have ever seen this.
Yeah, no, this is a rare instance of both of us not having seen it.
Yeah, and we're going to try and do that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Find movies neither of us have seen and we've always been interested in, had a little peak of interest. Not always, though. Not always.
I think the last one we did like that was Super, wasn't it?
Well, neither of us saw Quick and the Dead either.
That is true. I thought Super... Oh, well then, yeah, Quick and the Dead would have been the first one.
Was Super since then, though? I'm not sure.
I think Super came out after Quick and the... No, it didn't. No, it did not. Quick and the Dead came out before Super because Quick and the Dead is when we retired the full synopsis, which we did for Super.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, so we'll be jumping to that here shortly. Not a whole lot of news to discuss today.
Ton. Not even really news. Just talking about stuff that has come out since.
Well, that's news. Stuff that happens and you talk about it, that's news.
All right, I guess.
Anyways, biggest piece of news, biggest thing going on, and this is disappointing because I can't really partake in any discussion of it. Wakanda Forever came out in theaters. Brett went and checked it out.
How many movies are you behind now? Because you didn't see Black Adam. You didn't see Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
You didn't see... What was the other one? You still haven't seen Bullet Train.
I know, man.
I keep forgetting to bring it to you. I have it on Blu-ray, and I keep telling you I'm going to bring it for you to watch.
And it's sad, too, because I, really consider myself obviously I got a podcast about movie reviews. I'm a big moviegoer. And it's just kind of hard, with work. And I got the baby, can't take Taterbug to the theater. She'll probably get grumpy and scream. So, but I digress. We will power through, and I'll eventually make it to a movie and see something. You guys can champion me when that happens. But anyways, Brett, so give us a little thoughts on
Wakanda Forever.
Yeah,
fantastic, dude. I did a big whole in-depth review on my Twitter, twitter.com/BreakPodCheat.
I didn't read it either.
Well, did you not? Too long didn't read.
Well, it was one of those scenarios.
Good for you. /sorry that happened.
Yeah, open the text like I'm not reading that.
It was only 11 tweets long, Hunter. Come on.
It was that long?
Yeah, it was.
Well, I will read it. It was one of those scenarios where I was sleeping, woke up, looked at my phone, and saw it on there, and was like, oh, okay, I'll like that and read it later, and it did not. So, but anyway.
It happens. But yeah, I did a big, long review on my Twitter, Breakpodcheat. There's no W. It's just hard to say out loud.
Proqueet.
I'll never change it, though. I also won't spell it for you. But so if you want to check that out, you can go find that. But I'll give a few little thoughts here. It really is great. Phase 4 as a whole, and this isn't a hot take. This is general agreement.
Right.
Phase 4 hasn't been too great. After Endgame, it kind of feels like they didn't really know where they were going with things. I know a lot of people have this idea that like everything from the start to the finish of the MCU is planned out. Kevin Feige has 17 bulletin boards spanning from the beginning of time till the explosion of the sun about what he's going to do with these characters. I don't think that's true.
Right.
And they have this mindset where they have to get something out.
Yeah.
So, Phase 4 started with Black Widow, which was a prequel. They were giving themselves time to figure things out. And now, they found where they're going. They found Kang.
Yeah.
They know where they're going now.
Yeah.
But Phase 4 as a whole has felt kind of disjointed. They got the whole TV show stuff that's been going on, which is a new thing for them.
That was the word I was going to use. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Sorry.
That was the word I was going to say is probably the best way to describe it is disjointed.
Yeah.
I was thinking lackluster, but I don't think that's the right way to.
Well, some of it has been, but disjointed is definitely.
I was going to say hit or miss.
Very hit or miss.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a few
there have been
pretty
some
good
fantastic
things.
projects. There have been some really shit ones.
Right.
So,
right.
So they got all that stuff going on. But in terms of Wakanda Forever, it might very well be one of the best, really just MCU movies. Ryan Coogler, who directed it, he did the first one as well. And I will say, I wasn't a huge fan of the first Black Panther. I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
but
I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
But he really knocks it out of the park with this one. Just in terms of, and I hate to say this because it sounds pretentious, but, this one, you watch an MCU movie, there's a certain, way that it looks, a way that it feels that's different than, if you were to see a movie that's not in the MCU.
Right.
But this one, it feels like a movie.
Yeah.
Feels like a movie. A go to the theater kind of movie.
That's a good way to describe it. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And it's just so full of emotion, obviously with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. They had a lot on their shoulders with this one because Wakanda Forever was going to be a completely different movie than this is. And they could have scrapped it. They could have, just completely done away with it. But they put the time in to rework it into what it ended up being. And what it ended up being was fantastic. I said that word like 4 times now, but that's really that's the best word to describe it. Performances are great. Tenoch, I don't want to. Tenoch Huerta, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Who plays Namor? Yeah. Namor's big MCU debut is just
good?
Oh, he's fantastic.
That's fine. That's the word I was looking for.
He's great. He really is. Probably, I in some stuff I said on Twitter. Obviously, he's probably the best villain we've had in the MCU. In the MCU, he's
in general.
In general, I would argue. Hot take, Brett's hot take of the day on the pod. I would argue he is a more compelling villain than Thanos was.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's big. That's big talk from Big Brett.
It is big talk from Big Brett. But he's a new segment.
Yeah.
But he's no, he really knocks it out of the park. He's just this. He's really scary. He's a very intimidating villain. He shows up and he lets his nuts hang.
See,
before they CGI'd them out.
That makes me super excited because I feel like a lot of times whenever you classify villains that you enjoy, you kind of have you get your shit villains, but then you also have your villains that you enjoy in movies, and they kind of break off into two different directions. One is relatable, and two is just pure badass.
You know what's great about him? He's both.
He's both. Okay, that's good. That's good.
I made a point. This is my thing that I've been saying.
Namor was never a true villain in the original comics.
No. So. And you know, to an extent, he's not here. A lot of people, I see a lot of discourse on Twitter. They're like, stop calling him a villain. He's not a villain. He's the antagonist. I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people on Twitter tend to take that stance with superhero villains. He's a bad guy. Okay. Namor is a bad dude who wants to do a very bad thing and will not let anyone talk him out of it. That is a villain. He wants to do villainous things.
Yes.
But the reason he wants to do those villainous things are for the good of his people. They're for the good of his country, this land that he rules over. Mm-hmm. And a thing that I've been saying, if this movie was called, you know, instead of Wakanda Forever, if it was like Namor, Telecon Rise, right? You know, you almost would root for him. Mm-hmm. You know, if the movie was from his perspective, you would, you know, you wouldn't be completely against what he's trying to do. And I think that makes a really good villain, a very compelling, you know, sort of question that the movie asks you. It's like, who's really, you know, you're rooting for Wakanda because that's who the movie's about. That's who we spent more time with. But it sheds the light on Namor and his people, and it gives them the time and respect that they deserve to, you know, let you kind of form your own question. It's like, well, maybe, you know, he's not wrong per se, but it's like he's just going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, no, great movie. Definitely go see it if you haven't already. They handle everything they need to handle with amazing grace and nuance, and I think Ryan Coogler made something really special.
Okay, yeah. Just to kind of give my thoughts, not seeing the movie, my general thoughts on all of that. And I've said this before. My biggest thing that I was looking forward to was Namor in general. So I'm glad to hear all of that about Namor. Also, you know, they were put in a position, especially Ryan Coogler, with dealing with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Like you said, this was supposed to be something completely different. And I'm glad to see that it is a great film. And also, I've seen from other review sites that it's not, and this is a terrible way to word this, I just can't think of other ways to say it, is you almost don't want to fall into that, like, mercy review where people like it for the sake of, you know, the tragedy that happened and compelled this movie in the direction it went. And I've heard that that's not the case at all.
It's not.
It does.
It definitely could have gotten there, but it really stands alone on its own.
They made a great story with what happened, and at the same time paying utmost respect to Chadwick Boseman, which is really awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Champion Ryan Coogler for being able to take on that task. And did Ryan Coogler not direct? Did he direct Creed?
I don't know.
I think there's some other movie outside of the MCU that he did. This guy's a great director.
Oh, and even just using the MCU as an example.
Right. And from what I'm seeing, and you said it already, from what I'm seeing from other review sites, is this movie is its own.
It has actual cinematography.
Yes, it is a great movie. It is a moviegoer's movie. Whereas, you know, I don't know if you saw the recent statements made by Quentin Tarantino where
I did.
He just doesn't dig.
The man didn't say anything wrong either. Even as a fan of that universe and those movies, the man did not say anything that wasn't true.
You know, and he's not the first renowned director to drag the MCU. Martin Scorsese does not enjoy the superhero
theme
movies
park
either.
rides.
Yeah.
And again, he's not wrong. You know, he's not that wrong.
But we can like theme park rides.
I feel like people, you know, get a little too defensive about our dumb superhero movies. It's like, no, guys. They're right. But you can still enjoy it with them being right.
Yeah. And that's something we've always talked about on this podcast too. Like we've reviewed some schlock.
Yeah,
it's okay to like schlock. Not saying the MCU's schlock. I'm just saying that you know, it's okay to like what you like.
Exactly.
But yeah, so Wakanda Forever. Whenever I get a chance to watch it, definitely have to give my thoughts. Who knows when that'll be?
2025.
Be looking forward to
Black
it.
Panther 3 will be out, and you'll be watching Wakanda Forever to prepare for it.
I'll catch it on streaming here in a few months. But that was the biggest chunk of our news today. Plus, sad to say, I have a prior engagement I have to do this evening. So we're trying to expedite the review process here.
Yeah, but believe it or not, we do have lives.
I know. And once again, you know, like Brett said, we had the issues with his family being sick, trying to get in here to record, and then also just we both rotate shifts.
Yeah.
And we worked all last week during the holiday week, so it's been difficult. I'm sure you guys will forgive us, because we're going to hit a home run on this review of 310 to Yuma. So
whatever. For sure. Best episode we put out since.
Yeah, no doubt. Every new episode we put out
one
is
up
the best.
Ourselves every time.
Yeah, that's just, we're built different. But a couple other things that I wanted to touch base on real quick. So John Wick 4, we already knew it was coming out. Dropped a trailer, an extended trailer. And what was your thoughts that you said earlier, Brett?
I said it is definitely a trailer for the 4th John Wick movie.
Yes, that's a John Wick movie right there.
And that sounds like I'm being negative. But I don't want it to come off like that. But, the John Wick franchise...
It's tongue-in-cheek, but you it's a positive.
Yeah. We're going to see it. We love John Wick. We love Keanu. We love the action that they put into it. But
we know what we want, and they provide it.
Yes. But for me personally, with the John Wick franchise, and this isn't a widely held opinion. This is probably just a me thing. After the second one, I think... Well, honestly, starting with the second one... because what was so appealing about the first John Wick movie is that, there were these hints of this past that he has in this underground, and almost just murked Hunter's headphones. But there's these hints at this underground and past that he had, but really it was just a story about him. Yeah. It was just him, his quest for vengeance after this terrible thing that had happened to him, and that was really interesting. Yeah. And then the second movie, which is, it's the natural progression of the franchise, is delving more into that sort of assassin underground and that sort of wider universe. The
general population of moviegoers probably want more of that universe. Yeah. Like, we've talked in the past where it's better whenever you have an extended established universe where you just, like you said, you have hints of it. Yeah. But you don't go full in detail. We don't need all of that.
I just feel like they went too full in detail too quickly.
Yes, right? It convolutes it.
Yeah. The second movie, in comparison to the first movie, drops so much on you so quickly. And then with the third movie, I think the first and the third are my favorite ones, because the third movie pulls it back more and is like, okay,
the second one's the worst one out of all three. Yeah. I agree.
And then the third one pulls it back more and is like, okay, we're back to just focusing on John and what he's going through. And in the third movie, in that case, being hunted by all these different assassins. Yeah. So, but then again, and it sort of looks like they're going for a pattern. First movie, focus on John, drop hints. Second movie, big lore dumps. Third movie, back to John. And now with the fourth one, it looks like we're going back into the lore stuff.
And something with that, too, not to interject again.
No, you're fine.
But I think a big reason why they're going to go back to the extended lore is because of that spinoff that's supposed to come out with Ana de Armas, I think is how you pronounce her name. I think called Ballerina or something.
I believe so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to say the second movie, I said it was the worst of the franchise.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it's bad.
It's still a good movie.
Yeah.
Still a good movie. It's probably just the one that...
The dullest diamond out of a...
Yes.
out of a pack of diamonds.
Well, and even the third, I think, maybe lacks the most in plot, but I like the third more than the second, because I think the third really just hits the biggest home run out of all three as far as action set pieces and sequences.
I do also think that the first one kind of set the bar too high. They had something just so special with the first John Wick movie, something that, was being done, but not to that extent.
Right.
And that first John Wick is just so good that I don't think any sequels they could have ever made, regardless of how they handled it, could have really, knocked that one down. The first one is still the best one out of the franchise.
Agree. Yeah.
But with all that being said, I'm still very excited to see it. John Wick has, they're following the tradition of really good actors just coming in and doing cool fight scenes.
Yeah, like I was telling you before, and I actually do think that we touched base on it on the podcast whenever the first teaser trailer dropped a few months ago. I'm just so excited about this cast.
Yeah.
With Hiroyuki Sanada, Donnie Yen. I mean, these are actual martial artists that are good actors, that have been proven as good actors in the past. Recruiting just great talent, and then also to play the big bad Bill Skarsgård, Pennywise himself. I love Bill Skarsgård. You need to watch Barbarian still.
I know.
If there's a movie, here's a little news drop. Barbarian, just such a sick horror movie. Watch it. Don't look anything up about it first. Go in blind, watch it. You'll be blown away. But anyways, yes, Bill Skarsgård as the bad guy in freaking John Wick. So excited about it.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be good. There hasn't been a bad John Wick movie,
right.
But I think that maybe this should be the last one.
I feel like they're going to make it a 5 cool.
Yeah, but I feel like
a 5-ology.
I feel like once you get to the 5 of anything,
a pentology.
It's like, okay, guys, we're good. we can stop.
Well, you know as well as I do. It's one of those things where if they can just keep making money on it, they're going to do
100%.
it. 100%.
And I'll see all of them.
Right.
But I just think it's sad to see things overstay their welcome, and I feel like we're kind of hitting that point.
Yeah,
with John.
Don't let the Keanu-sance end on a bad note.
Yeah.
Like know whenever it's over. But yeah, so John Wick 4, pretty pumped up about that. The only other thing that I thought was pertinent for us to maybe just touch base on real quick, because we talk about the MCU a lot here, and we talk about a lot of Disney. Disney kind of rules the world anyway.
Yeah.
Disney got a new admiral, a new lieutenant in charge.
New in air quotes.
Yes. It was swapping Bob for Bob here.
We're swapping Bob for Bob. It's kind of like if they brought George Washington back today.
What if George Washington came back and was just like, what is wrong with this country?
What has happened? I think if George Washington came back, actually, he would probably just like cry.
Yeah.
He'd be like, what the fuck is that? And it'd be like a Ford.
Yeah, he'd probably just like walk right out into like oncoming traffic and die. Yeah. So maybe a bad comparison on our part. But anyway, so Bob Iger? Is that how you pronounce it?
Bob Iger is coming back.
Okay.
And then we're losing Bob Chapek.
Okay. And tell the people why you think a big push was made for this move to happen.
Well, there's a few. You got to know the lore.
The Disney CEO
of the millionaire
lore.
CEOs of this billion-dollar company. You got to know the lore before you go into it. But Bob Iger, has almost a perfect track record. He came in when he became CEO. I don't remember what year it was. I don't care. But when they brought in Bob Iger,
I think it was like 15, 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I think Will Eisner was the CEO previously.
Yes. But they brought in Bob Iger, and he just did a lot of good for the company. He made a lot of good creative decisions, across all of Disney's ventures. He helped out the parks a lot. I know there's this really good YouTuber. Small plug for this guy. Defunct Land is the name of the YouTube, and he does video essays on theme parks.
Okay.
And of course, biggest theme park of the world.
Yeah.
Disneyland, Disney World. So he covers a lot of Disney stuff. And if you want a lot of information about Bob Iger's stay as CEO and William Eisner, that was his name.
Yeah, I think that's his name.
If you want to know about those guys and what they did, more specifically for the parks, but he throws in other stuff that they did too. Definitely check him out because there's a lot of good information in those videos.
Yeah,
and they're also just very entertaining. So shout out, classic Real Rendezvous shout out, Defunct Land.
Shout out Defunct Land.
But he just did a lot of good for the company. He made a lot of good decisions. Was it him who helmed the purchase of LucasArts?
That's what I was just about to say. Whenever you were in charge, when you purchase LucasArts, when you purchase Marvel.
Yeah, he was both of them?
Yeah, he was there for both of them.
Nice.
So
yeah, so that gives you a little insight on his way of thinking and what he's done for the company. Well, he stepped down not too long ago. They gave us Bob Chapek.
What was that, like 4 years ago, maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And we haven't really heard about Bob Chapek a lot until very recently because in an interview, he denounced animation. The whole thing that Disney was founded on.
I didn't see the interview. No. I didn't know this.
Oh, he said that animation was only for children and that they weren't going to focus. They wanted to focus more on projects for adults.
Imagine being in charge of Disney
and
making a statement like that.
Right?
That's like me if I was in charge of the coal mine I worked at. It was like, coal mining serves its purpose, but I'd really like to check into these solar panels. That's something, interesting to me.
Yeah. So everyone was on his tail about that, and apparently Disney saw the backlash, and they were like, "Hey, wait a minute. I don't know if you're CEO, who decides that you're doing a bad job?
Was there a mutiny in Disney?
I'm not sure what happened.
Board.
Maybe he saw the backlash and decided to step down. Maybe someone higher than him, whoever that might be, told him to.
Well, I will tell you this right now, that whenever you have these big companies like this, you have the chief executive officer, the president and CEO, which I'm sure was Bob Chapek, and which was Bob Chapek. But underneath that, you have a board of investors. These guys don't run the business. They look into what kind of money it's going to make and how to make it make money the best.
Oh, okay.
So, like the mine company that I work at, the investors are who decided we needed to file for bankruptcy like 3 or 4 years ago. And then when we came out of it, they realigned what the company's title was, who the CEO was, blah 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 blah. Okay. So yeah, so there's always a bigger fish. So to speak.
Well, the bigger fish decided that Chapek was off his fucking rocker, and
is he like real old?
Not even. I mean, he's old, but he's not like super old. He's
sits
like,
in a rocking chair.
Yeah, no, he's like in his 50s, 60s.
Okay. All right, so not that old.
Yeah, but they were like, Chapek can't be saying that. We literally built ourselves off of cartoons.
Right.
Let's bring Iger back in because he did a pretty good job. So Bob Iger's back in the CEO chair, and I guess we'll see what comes of it.
Maybe he can steer them in the proper direction. As we said earlier, a little disjointed the past 5 years. 5, maybe 3 years, something of that nature.
Yeah, around that.
Yeah, maybe 3 to 5. We'll go with a 3 to 5.
Yeah. So there we go. We got our knight in shining armor back.
Looking forward to it.
So
for sure.
We'll see how he handles things.
One other thing I want to touch base on here, which will segue perfectly into our review, is there's been some images dropped for the Indiana Jones 5 film coming out, and I'm really excited for this movie. Brett not so much, but
I just don't have as much of a history with the franchise.
Right.
I watched the first one and it was good.
Right,
and we reviewed it.
Right.
Check out the playlist on the channel if you haven't seen that review yet.
Yes, drop in there and look at that. It's another great review.
Oh, I mean, fantastic. Best we've ever done.
Fantastic.
For the time.
Yeah, at that time it was the best. We just continue to one-up ourselves, though. But anyways, this movie is being directed by James Mangold, who made the film we're reviewing today, 310 to Yuma. So, yeah, I think a lot of the pictures look cool. Also, a lot of the pictures look like Indiana Jones pictures. So
I will say it did feel kind of cool to see old Harrison Ford in the classic Indy outfit.
Yes,
that was cool to see.
Well, and you know, we were talking earlier. It's going to be kind of a bummer if they're going to try and put Grandpa Harrison through all these stunts and different things of that nature.
He's been raking in that Disney money recently, though. He had Star Wars,
right?
Now he's going to be Marvel,
yeah,
and now he's got back with LucasArts,
yeah. He's
which is also Star Wars. I forget sometimes.
But we're hoping for potentially like a mentor role in this film, and we get an introduction to, a new character, somebody else to carry the torch on the franchise. They're not going to let this franchise die.
No. Did you see that they're doing a prequel series on Disney Plus?
I did not.
Yes, they're doing a prequel series on Disney Plus that follows the adventures of Indy's mentor.
Oh, yeah. Really? Abner Ravenwood.
Yes, that's his name.
Shit.
Yeah, they're following him in his adventuring days.
What's his foxy lady? What's her name in the first movie? Well,
oh goodness!
Remember, we thought she was cute.
Yeah.
Well, that's her dad.
Oh yes,
remember?
It is. Yeah. You're right. You're
Abner
so right.
Ravenwood.
Yeah.
What a wild name, Abner Ravenwood.
That just sounds like you're gonna do some cool shit.
Yeah, like that's top 5 names I've ever heard in my life.
Did you see the picture of Mad Mickelson?
I think there's an S in there.
Is it Nicholson or Mickelson?
It's Mickelson.
Okay, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
You see the picture where he's cosplaying as the Nazi from the first movie?
Was he not in this one? Indy 5?
Mads Mikkelsen?
Yes.
No, yeah, he is.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I was about to say,
they released an official still of him, and he's cosplaying as the Nazi from the first movie.
I'm confused. Like he's cosplaying like a joke, or like you're just saying he looks just like the bad guy?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm saying he looks just like that original bad guy. Like they're definitely doing a thing where they're like,
okay,
remember this guy?
Not trying to drag Mads Mikkelsen, but the dude just looks evil anyway. You make him a good guy in a movie, and I just think he's a bad guy.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the movie it's going to twist, and he's just going to kill everyone. But I'm really excited for this movie. I really. Where's my trailer, though? I was hoping we'd have a trailer to talk about. Didn't happen.
Well, there were a lot of rumors that it was dropping on Thanksgiving.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, come off of it, guys. I want to watch that shit. Yeah, so Indy 5. And,
when does that come out? Next year?
Let me look that up just real quick. Yes, I believe it's next year. But as I was just saying, Indy 5, I already was excited about it. even more excited about it now after watching 310 to Yuma.
Yeah.
You know, and James Mangold, man, he's directed a lot of good stuff. Logan, he also directed Ford versus Ferrari, which I've never seen.
Oh,
but
he did do Logan, didn't he?
yes.
Oh, man. Oh, just right there.
Yeah, the Western
Yeah.
the Western was already there, buddy. Like, but anyways, I just see 2023. Okay, June 30th, 2023. Okay. Tatum's 1-year-old birthday. She's going to go watch Indy with Dad. Well, 29th, so. Her birthday's on the 29th, so the day after Tatum's 1-year-old birthday, she's going to be watching Indy 5 with Dad.
If he sees it.
Yeah, tell me this guy just doesn't look inherently evil.
No, he does. It's true.
He needs a mustache to twirl. We're talking about Mads Mikkelsen, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, he showed me a picture on his phone of Mads Mikkelsen.
But anyways, so with that said, I think we're ready to jump feet first into this sumbitch.
310 to Yuma. Let's hit it.
All right, so 310 to Yuma is a Western released in 2007, as stated about 100 times already, directed by James Mangold. The plot revolves around a small-time rancher agreeing to hold a captured outlaw who's awaiting a train to go to court in Yuma. A battle of wills ensues between said outlaw, the character's name's Ben Wade, played by Russell Crowe, as he tries to psych out said rancher, played by Christian Bale. So right there off the top,
yeah, our two leads,
just two A+ actors. What's the phrase I'm looking for here? A grade, God tier,
AAA.
I don't know, like an A-lister. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep, AAA is video games.
But anyways, yeah. So to round out the cast, also those are the two bigs. But with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe, you also have Ben Foster doing a very cool character role. Logan Lerman. See what I did there? I did it right.
He just said it right. He usually says Logan Learman.
I just think Learman sounds cooler, guys. But anyways, Logan Lerman plays as Christian Bale's son in the film. And then also Vanessa Shaw. She plays as one of the love interests of Russell Crowe's Ben Wade earlier in the film. Not a big role. She's like 4th build, though. 5th build. But anyways, this movie was budgeted for $55 million. Its U.S. gross was only $53.6 million.
Oh, just shy of making even.
Yeah, and then its worldwide gross was $70 million.
Oh, well.
So it profited. The score and soundtrack is done by Marco Beltrami, which I was telling Brett earlier. I like Marco's stuff. He did the first two, the Guillermo del Toro Hellboy films. Mm-hmm. He did their soundtracks, and he also did the soundtrack for the Scream franchise, which I love. All right, so I already gave the plot details there. This is typical Western stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But what did you think of the plot in general, Brett?
I thought it was good. I enjoy, I don't know how I would describe it. You know, not globetrotting per se, because they don't go...
This could be classified as an adventure movie.
Yeah, I guess that would be the right way to say it.
I mean, they're going across the state, but...
Yeah, I like when people have a goal that they have to travel towards, and like that's the plot. The whole movie is them getting to where they need to go. I enjoy that.
Right.
And they do it well.
One thing I think also with the plot is it uses a simple plot with the adventure. We need to get this MacGuffin from point A to point B.
Russell Crowe is a MacGuffin in this movie.
Right? So that's a simple plot, but after watching the movie, you know, and we talked about this, I love the dialogue, and we can get into that later, but there's also a lot of good character development between the two leads.
Yeah.
And we can get into that here in a few. But other than that, the plot's kind of plain Jane, boring. Not boring, plain Jane, simple.
It's you know, on paper it sounds very simple,
right.
But when you watch the movie, there's a lot of nuance in it and a lot of smaller aspects of it that you really just got to see happen. They're hard to explain.
Yeah,
like to someone.
And like we said, it kind of weaves in and out of the two main characters and who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Not really who's the bad guy per se, but where the allegiances actually are. So with that, let's move into setting. Setting is sick.
Yeah. Well, I personally, I don't know if I probably mentioned this in the Quick and the Dead review, but I love cowboys.
Yeah.
I just adore the whole mythos, the entire idea. I love the outfits. I love the Robin Hood aspect of it all.
Yeah.
Just like old-timey heroes. I'm just a big fan of all of it. Red Dead, and we'll touch on that here in a bit.
We can actually go ahead and talk about that now some if you want, because the next thing I have, our next bullet point is set and character design.
Mm-hmm.
So like the set design and the setting in general, being in Arizona in the late 1800s, like Brett said, who doesn't love cowboy shit, man? I mean...
Cowboys, Vikings, and pirates are my three favorite historical factions.
We were talking earlier. Brett was like, "Why aren't there no more pirate movies, man?"
I did. Why aren't they? It's an untapped market.
That's a sick genre. Like, why don't they?
Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean has a monopoly on pirate movies. Yeah. No one else wants to do them.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. I've never seen it, but I know there was a pirate TV show on like Stars or one of those like HBO type channels back in the day. It was called Black Sails.
Oh.
It had multiple seasons. I know people kind of dug it.
There was a pirate comedy, dramedy maybe, that was on HBO recently
Our
called
Flag Means Death.
Yeah.
I never watched it. I heard it was pretty funny.
But yeah.
I saw like some decent reviews for it. I would like my pirates to be a little bit more piratey, like legit. But anyways, back to the Cowboys, not pirates.
Pirates for another day.
All of the setting is really cool. A lot of crispy bronze sunsets. Yeah. A lot of
that classic Wild West saloon.
Oh yeah,
hotel architecture. Just big old.
Just like rough cut wood, everything.
Yeah. What's that? It's like not a trope, but like when you go to like a Western thing and then all the buildings are like just like stand-ups. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh. They're like cutouts where like you just knock it over.
Yeah. But because Western buildings are just so like rectangular and just straight up and down.
That's how everything looks.
Giant,
Yeah, in these small towns. It kind of, like we said earlier, it all rotates in the state of Arizona, going from the town of Bisbee to the town of Contention. And then we never actually do get to Yuma. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But that's not what the plot is about. The plot is about getting him to the
train that goes to Yuma.
That goes to Yuma. So. But yeah, and like Brett said, it's just all cowboy stuff.
It's just classic Western cowboy stuff.
Everybody's outfits look great.
Oh, the drip is immaculate.
I think it all looks so legit too.
Yeah.
It does not look like
nothing's
costumed.
Too over the top. Yeah.
Nothing looks costumed.
Like,
everything
those
looks
are
real.
outfits that people would wear.
Right.
And the ones that are over the top are like not so over the top that it looks like a fake costume, but it's like enough to where you're like, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's a character in particular that has on this white like button over the chest leather jacket, and I just think it's got like all these really nice seam lines in it, especially down the back, and it's got like these little coattails. Really cool jacket. I like it a lot.
Like I was saying, I believe that's like a Civil War, like Confederacy jacket that he's wearing. And I think some of that is like some undertone in the film, because remember Dan?
Yeah, Dan is a war vet.
Christian Bale's character
in the Civil War for the North.
He was for the Union, whereas Charlie Prince, the character that Brett's talking about with the sick button over jacket, the Confederate jacket, must have fought for the South or something. I don't know if there's supposed to be, a little show don't tell there.
Yeah.
But if there is...
It could also be argued because they're outlaws and stuff. He probably could have just stolen it from someone who fought for the South.
Which makes it interesting.
Yeah. You can sort of form your own backstory there for where he got his jacket.
Form our own backstories for all of the characters' outfits.
Yeah, if you're into that sort of thing.
Also, like with the character design too, like there's little nuances. I told Brett right at the start of the movie, so it's revealed that our lead character, Dan, played by Christian Bale, has a what's the word I'm looking for here?
He's missing his foot.
Leg. Yeah, he doesn't have a peg leg. He has a prosthetic.
Yeah.
And, back in the late 1800s, a prosthetic was a piece of wood.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, this is going to slow this movie down and make it lame and not cool.
They really don't talk about it that much.
No.
It's a nice little character trait, and it plays in a little bit in the story when he brings it up and talks about it.
It helps dialogue.
But it does not hinder his character at all, which I think is nice, because they definitely could have gone the route where they're like, oh, this guy's dead weight, he's missing a leg.
Yeah.
But I think it's really nice that, he's still a badass.
It helps.
Missing his foot is not... It hinders him one time in the entire movie. He trips in the beginning and it falls off.
Yeah, and that's when I was like face palming.
Yeah.
But then it's never really a thing again. Yeah. it humanizes him in the best way possible.
Yeah.
It really, the only time it is brought about as a plot device is basically to discuss in dialogue scenes like his past and his relationship with his family.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
Yeah, it's done really well.
And credit to the writer and the screenplay, whoever did this, because the dialogue is great.
You guys know, all it takes for me to get interested in a movie is good characters.
Yeah.
And this movie has some great characters.
Yeah, somebody you can grab on and get behind. And the two leads, even I guess we can talk about Russell Crowe.
Yeah, even Ben.
He's an intriguing character. He is not one note bad guy. After watching the entire film, you question he's not really a bad guy.
No, he's not a bad. He's a bad guy. the line from Wreck-It Ralph. Just because you are a bad guy does not mean you are a bad guy.
Dude, I haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph since it came out in theaters.
Really?
I remember. I loved it. I liked it.
I've watched it maybe a couple more times since then. Zangief says that when they're in the villain meeting.
I got you. I got you.
So Russell Crowe is a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
And you get to see that, and he's got one of those. You can consider it cliche or tropey, but he's got that. Bad guy who doesn't want to realize that he's actually good inside.
Yeah.
And Russell Crowe plays it really well. And I call me, I'll eat up that soup, but I do be eating that soup.
Be eating. We stay fed.
I grasp onto those think Joel from The Last of Us. That sort of, I'm gruff and grumpy, but heart of gold in there somewhere.
Heart of gold underneath, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'd be remiss if we move on here from set and character design if we don't talk about the elephant in the room after watching this movie. We both love the Red Dead franchise.
Oh, yeah. And
apparently Rockstar Games loves 310 to Yuma.
So 310 to Yuma came out 2 years before Red Dead Redemption released. Because Red Dead came out in 2010. So it was actually 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
And someone at Rockstar had to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because... Listen,
and that's okay.
Oh no! This is a positive.
I'm sure they've drawn more influence from just this movie from other westerns, but this one in particular,
dude. Christian Bale's Dan in this movie is just John Marston. Christian Bale is in this movie just playing John Marston. He even gives him that and again, Red Dead came out after, so John Marston is playing Dan. But so when we do these comparisons, we don't actually think that it's. We know it's the other way around, but because the Red Dead is the media that we consumed first.
Right.
Obviously, that's where it's like that tweet that's like, guy who's only ever watched The Boss Baby watching his second ever movie. It's like, this is giving me some Boss Baby vibes.
Never seen that. That's awesome. Yeah. You got to send that to me. Boss Baby.
So that's sort of what's going on here, but that's just the way the news goes. It's the way the world works. So. But anyway.
Talk about some of the other ones. I mean, like Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe is Dutch Vanderlyn. He's not as Dutch as Christian Bale is John
Marston, yeah.
But, he's the gang's leader. He's charismatic.
Yes.
It does that one's not as strong of a comparison because Dutch is just like a dick.
Dutch, well, I think Dutch, where his character arc goes and plays along, he goes from semi-good to bad to he's legitimately the villain now. He devolves into a bad character, not a bad character, a bad person. Yeah. He devolves. Whereas Russell Crowe's character Ben Wade,
he kind of evolves. In
this movie
after meeting
to
Dan.
A better man.
Yeah,
and that's interesting. But they just look alike. Dutch Vanderlyn and Ben Wade.
Even with the blacked out bowler hat, the
same
vest.
hat, yeah, look the same. Quick shooting, the gang leader. What else? There was a couple more comparisons that we were making.
The
son,
Charlie Prince. Oh yeah, Logan Lerman plays Dan's son. He's
Jack.
He's Jack Marston. He's the Jack Marston to Christian Bale's John. Charlie Prince. Is just Micah.
He literally wears his hat cocked and is just like a cocky asshole.
This grungy, ass kissing bad dude who everyone hates.
The second in command douchebag. Yeah.
So lots of comparisons to be drawn there. Again, obviously this came out first. Right. So, but you really get those. You can see. You just see it.
Yeah. I didn't touch base on this earlier, but we have talked about the character of Charlie Prince a couple times. He's played by Ben Foster, and I think Ben Foster kind of like does really good in this role too. Nowhere near. You have like the top of the ladder here with Christian Bale as Dan and Russell Crowe as Ben Wade. And then it drops off significantly. But I don't think Ben Foster does a bad job whatsoever in his role. He's kind of a character actor almost. And then Logan Lerman, I think, is kind of good as the angsty teen son, which, you know, that's another red flag. It's like, oh, man, another teen son that hates his dad. But I thought he was pretty good.
No. It didn't grate on you.
Right.
It was, it was they used it when they needed to, but it wasn't like his whole thing.
That's a great way to describe it. That it wasn't like grating. Like it wasn't like every time he had
every time he's here, every time he talks, it's I hate my dad.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
It isn't even really so much that he hates him. It's just so much that he's this teen boy that sees all these bad things happening. And his dad is, sort of complicit in it, you know?
Yes.
And he wants to take action.
And some of that is just the aspect of him being true to, he's a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You don't understand the big picture.
Exactly.
You think life is just, 1A to 1B to 1C, and it's not like that.
Yeah. So that did work for me.
Yeah, and then also we talked about, I didn't say this when I talked about the cast earlier, the brief little drop that we usually do with the top 4 or 5 billed actors, but there's a pretty popular character actor named Kevin Durand that plays in this movie as kind of like a henchman for one of the land grabbers in this movie that goes on their what's the word I'm looking for here? Their trip. I was thinking of a cooler word, but I can't. And he's just kind of like the dumb like muscle in the movie, and this actor, like I said earlier, he also plays in the movie Smoking Aces and in Wild Hogs, and I've seen him in other stuff, but I know those 2 movies for sure. He's just the same thing, like just like a dumbass, like tough guy.
Yeah,
and I kind of liked his role a little bit too.
Another big character actor we have in this movie is Alan Tudyk.
Yes, correct pronunciation on that too. I'm glad you said it, not me. But we love him. He does a lot of voice acting, right? A
lot of it. Especially for animals, which is hilarious. He was Iago in live action Aladdin.
Oh, really?
He was the chicken in Moana. So,
yeah, we love Alan.
He also does regular voice roles. He's in Doom Patrol. I don't know if you watched that. I haven't. But apparently it's pretty good.
I watched like 2 episodes of it, and it looked cool until I saw a sequence that required some CGI, and it was pretty shitty.
Yeah.
So, and it just didn't have enough to hook me anyway. But anyways, so yeah, we love Red Dead Redemption. We love 310 to Yuma. Put them together, they're the same freaking thing.
A little bit. There's lots of comparisons to be drawn there, and that's a good thing. But just in terms of just like outside of those comparisons, the performances everyone's giving, fantastic. Christian Bale is amazing in this movie. We were talking before. Hot take. This is my hottest take I think I've ever had. But I'm not the biggest fan of the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale Batman movies.
Yeah.
They're fine for what they are, but it's just not a style that I'm particularly fond of.
I don't think you're a big fan of that super realistic take on what the Batman would be like in the real world.
Also, the suit is ass.
Yeah, I don't like the black cheekbones. Don't hide my man's jaw.
Like the quadrillion panel lines going down that. Yeah, not a fan of, just a lot of stuff I don't like about him.
It looks like somebody drew a labyrinth on his chest.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. Yeah, I agree. I think
really
his suit sucks. I don't like the muted gold belt. Like it sucks. We got our best suit this past year.
Oh yeah, So I appreciate what they were going for. Didn't really work for me, but I love Christian Bale. I like him as an actor. I think he does really good in almost everything he's in, especially this one. We were talking about it before we started recording. I'm gonna plop this up. This is my favorite Christian Bale movie I've seen.
Just plop it right up.
Plopping it right up there on the pedestal. Get out of here. Get out of here, Dark Knight. You were there just because you were one of the only Christian Bale movies I'd seen at the time.
By default.
You're gone now. 310 to Yuma. He is so great. He's such a compelling character. And he plays that nuance, like old wisdom.
Yes.
And he's also just a badass. And it's like, but he doesn't think he is. But then he's, when he's actually in the fray and like getting into it.
Yeah, and something else about him.
We also love a man. Sorry.
Go ahead.
There's this big thing with Spider-Man comics that people were talking about a while ago, and they were calling it the indomitable human spirit, and it's that idea of no matter how bad things get, no matter how bad things seem, you got to stick to your guns and keep going.
Yeah.
And Dan is the personification of that in this movie.
Yes.
When it's down to the wire, when everyone else has given up, he knows that he has to keep going to do the right thing. A true hero. And I just liked seeing that. I think they did it really well.
You talking about him displaying that true to form old man type wisdom. He's played a lot there with his angsty teen son throughout the movie, but something else he has also shown to just show what morality is towards is Russell Crowe's character in the third act. Also, I think to a certain extent, the Pinkerton agent that we have, Mr. Butterfield, which there's another Red Dead comparison.
Yeah, the Pinkertons are here. Not that Red Dead invented Pinkertons; they were a real thing.
Right,
but they're very. If you've played those games, you know how heavily they're included in those stories.
They're almost like the Galactic Empire of the Red Dead.
They really are.
So no real qualms with characters in this movie. Like I said, I guess the only qualm is it's very top heavy with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe, and then you got like your B tier with Ben Foster and Logan Lerman, and then underneath that, there's really not any depth. But with that said, we don't need it.
Yeah.
It's to no fault of the movie whatsoever.
It's kind of, I kind of would compare Ben Wade's gang to every vampire that's not David in The Lost Boys.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They're there, and some of them have their moments, but we don't need to know about them to understand what's going on.
Yeah, like Charlie Prince is obviously kind of the most important, maybe the second in command of Ben Wade's gang. But he's still kind of one-dimensional, whereas he's just like the shitty second in command guy. I guess that kind of brings us to our final bullet point here, production and direction. Like we said, James Mangold directed Logan. Logan is awesome.
Oh, fantastic.
Logan is in my top 3 superhero movies. I can't give it number 1, but I mean, it is up there. I was actually just thinking the other day, after having a daughter now myself, like there's no way I can watch that final sequence of Logan without just melting into a pile of like crying tears. Also,
he died with his heart in his hand.
Also, something else he did. Also, something else.
Because you remember that's what they said.
Low key sick cosplay in the future for me and Tatum to be Wolverine.
That'd be kind of crazy.
So
that'd be awesome.
Just saying. But Logan is a great movie. James Mangold also directed Ford versus Ferrari that I said earlier. I've never seen it. I don't even know if you've ever heard of it.
No, what?
It was a movie about like a race that happened. It's based on true events where the developers for Ford made a car to try to compete with Ferrari.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a really cool, like real life story. Got good reviews. He also directed The Wolverine, which has its flaws for sure. Most
of the flaws in The Wolverine aren't in the direction.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. It's kind of not really his fault, though. So a good director. And this movie is directed well. I think a lot of this movie's positives are derived from the writing and the acting in our 2 leads.
Yeah.
Not saying that
there
James
were some
Mangold
good shots in there, though.
Yeah, and that's another thing I was going to say. There are a few good shots. Most of the cinematography that I would classify as good, though, is really just really cool landscape, really cool Western imagery. There are. What was a scene that I pointed out early in the movie?
So right after they have robbed this stagecoach, he leans down next to a guy that he had injured on the ground, and the shot is Russell Crowe is about. He's
in the foreground.
Yeah, he's leaning into the foreground from the bottom left corner, and then in the top right and just the background as a whole, you see the carriage, and then it blows up.
Yeah,
and he's just still sitting there. It doesn't really faze him.
And
it was just a nice composition.
Well, and one thing great about that too is that was live, so Russell Crowe really was in frame with the explosion happening behind him.
Exactly.
So I really enjoy that, and I wish I'd have paid a little bit more attention because there were probably a few sequences that were similar to that in this movie that I just missed. I really did like the panning sequence of the town of Bisbee whenever they first go to the saloon and like kick everybody out, and then all of the set, which we already talked about set and character design, but just all the sets were really really top of the line production. Like everything.
I'd love to know where they filmed it.
Yeah,
to get all the mountains and the.
I should have looked that. Maybe I could look that up real quick. Ramble and I'll look that up.
Well, one of the shots I wanted to talk about that I really enjoyed. It's at the very end of the movie. So we didn't really touch on it, but there's a part. The final climax of the movie is Dan is trying to get Ben Wade onto this train so that he can take him to Yuma, and Ben actually gets the better of him and is about to take him out so that he can escape. And Dan reveals to him that he didn't lose his leg in the war fighting in a battle. He never saw any action, and his leg was shot off by one of his own men by accident. And this sort of...
I say that like I didn't know it. Sorry.
and this sort of sparks something in Ben. It's kind of similar to the Martha moment from Batman v Superman in a way. But
way better.
Well, yeah, way better done, but like the same concept. But that information sparks something in Ben because he sees... the whole movie, even outside of that, Dan is just a good man. He wants justice for the things that this man has done. He wants justice for his family. He just wants to do right by the people in his life. And that's something that Ben doesn't have. But, sort of throughout the movie, you see that he has that capacity, that potential to be as good as Dan.
Yeah.
And he hears this and...
I think you'd be remiss, sorry to interrupt, but I think you'd be remiss if, like, you didn't also go ahead and let the people know, talking about how Ben shows those ideas throughout the movie. He has that small sequence with the lady at the saloon.
Yes.
Where he just wants to run away.
He just wants to leave. He wants to go where he's not wanted and just have a life with someone. Yeah.
Right.
So, but the whole movie, you're sort of seeing, like we were talking with Logan Lerman's angsty teen boy, what he doesn't like about his father as how complicit he is in the bad things that are happening in their lives. And Dan just wants something his boys, his family can be proud of, which is, doing the right thing, getting this, legendary outlaw. Everyone knows how dangerous he is, all the bad things that he's done, and bringing him to justice.
Right.
And so, Ben, who, is already, we've been shown, is over this life, and also is revealed that he can get out of the prison that he's being sent to.
That was just a funny moment for me, too. I just thought that, like, not only with the great, like, heavy moments of dialogue between...
there are a lot of funny lines.
They have like a really cool like buddy cop aspect too. That I just really enjoyed.
But so he gets him to the train, and unfortunately, which devastatingly, the gang. So the whole movie, the gang is trying to get Russell Crowe back while our heroes are taking him to the train. But they catch up with each other in this town, and there's this big shootout. And the gang gets the better of Dan. They kill him.
Awesome shootout, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Shootout is
great Western
top-notch.
Shootout. Fantastic. But they kill Dan. And Russell Crowe, who now has what you were saying throughout the whole movie, the whole time they have this mutual respect for each other, and the way they live their lives. And there's a lot of great scenes of them talking about the difference in their lives. And
this whole movie is actually based on just guys being dudes.
Just guys being dudes.
Loving each other.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a bromance.
But, Ben watches his gang gun down this man who he has this respect for, who he was trying to help, who he knew was a good man, who just wanted to do something right for once in his life. And that makes Ben mad. So he goes out and earlier in the movie, we're shown that Ben is a quick draw. He's real fast with a gun.
Right.
So he's standing there over Ben's dead body with his gun that his gang member has given to him because they think they're going to leave together. And there's this great moment where they're just looking at each other, and you can see the realization in Charlie's eyes
that was a great acting sequence right there.
That
too.
He had messed up. Yeah. That he shouldn't have killed that guy.
That's when he knew he fucked around. He's about to find out.
He's about to find out.
Yeah.
So this great sequence, Russell Crowe shoots Charlie Prince in the stomach, guns down, I think it was 4 or 5.
I think there were 5 other ones.
The 5 other gunmen that were in his gang. Kills them all, and then he walks up, and then this is the shot that this whole spiel was about. But I realized we didn't give you guys much backstory on what was happening. But after he guns those guys down, Charlie's still alive, just like in shock because he got shot in the stomach. And Russell Crowe, Ben, walks up to him and because the gun he has is a really long barrel. He puts it right to his chest, and it's kind of like this tilted shot.
Yeah.
So you like follow the gun barrel into his chest, and then it pans out, and he just executes him, basically. You said it was kind of like a fatality in Mortal Kombat. Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like.
It's got like enough of like the backing of Charlie Prince to like show the exit wound and stuff.
Yeah.
It's tight.
Yeah, great sequence, great shot, and that's probably my favorite part of the movie. Is that
we were both, after we saw that, we looked at each other and was like, damn, dude, that was sick.
And then he, out of respect for Dan, he puts himself back on the train to Yuma to leave. But then right as he's going, he whistles for a horse to follow the train, sort of telling us like, he's still gonna get out of there, but he wanted his son to see that he did it. Dan had done it.
He gave Dan that honor that he deserved.
Exactly.
And yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Man, this movie.
It was really, it surprised me.
You talking about that whole scene right there just makes me like, just so like, I just want to rate it higher now. Like, I don't know where I'm at on this, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I feel like, I'm grasping at straws for complaints, to be honest.
Well, to stop stroking it off for a second, we had a sort of a shared negative in quotes, because it's not like a deal breaker, but the movie's like 2 hours 15 minutes.
I think it's a shade over 2 hours. I think it was actually only like 2:05.
Yeah,
which kind of isn't good that we think it was longer.
Yeah. But there's just one sequence in particular. They go to this mining town, and there's this big chase through a mine because these miners in this town that have beef with Ben capture him, and our guys need to get him back. We need him on that train. These guys just want to kill him.
Yeah. It was a side mission they didn't need to do.
Yes,
you could have passed up on that.
Exactly what it was.
Stick to the campaign.
Exactly. They did a side mission in this mining town, and there's this big cool set piece where they're running through this collapsing mine, and it is neat, but like we were saying, it doesn't really serve the story as a whole as well as everything else in the movie does. So we were talking about how they probably could have gone away with cutting that out.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why it's there. And like you were saying, only 2 hours. That's not even like super long, but
it made the movie feel longer than it really needed
it did. It made the movie feel, because the best way to describe it is what you just said. It was a side quest.
Yeah.
And we lose Alan Tudyk, and he didn't deserve that. He was just a humble horse doctor trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. He had some funny quotes too. He was almost, I don't want to say comic relief, because there was no real like true character that was comic relief.
Yeah, but he was definitely portrayed as like goofier than the rest of them.
He was the funniest of all characters. So that's probably the primary negative if we are searching for one.
Yeah, but that's really the only one. And even then, it's like, it being there wasn't bad. It just could have been, which you can say about a lot of scenes in a lot of movies.
Right. And one other thing that you could say is it's a Western. I mean, if you've seen any other Westerns.
It's not doing anything particularly, like mind-blowing, but it's doing everything it is doing really well.
Right. It's like, why would you get creative if doing it this way will give you an A+?
Yeah.
So, with that said, why do I always do that whenever we're going to give a review? I always say, well, with that said, what are you going to give it?
that's just the segue into that.
I'm gonna have to come up with a new phrase.
That thing.
But anyways, what you got on that, Brett?
I'll tell you what I got on that, Hunter. That is, I'm gonna, with everything said today in this room, I don't know why I'm doing it like that. 310 to Yuma. I'm giving it an 8.5.
I like it. See, for a second, I wanted to go 9.
I'm almost there, but it's like, that feels way too high for something like this.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to go 8.5 as well. It's a great Western, great movie. Not just Western, just great movie in general. But with that said, I need to pull back the reins a little bit.
Yeah.
Draw up on my horse some. Because, I've seen other Westerns, and a lot of them are great. Would I classify this as the best one I've seen? No. And I can think of a couple others that I would probably give a higher score than this. So I think I'm going to stay right there with you on par, 8.5 out of 10.
8.5.
Great movie, though.
Great movie. If you're into Westerns at all.
I think even if you're not into Westerns, this is an easy one to watch.
Yeah. It is a very accessible Western movie. Yeah. And on top of that, you got great characters to boot, great performances. I think this is one that, pretty much anyone can enjoy.
Yeah, a lot of, and I'm glad this was like kind of your first true to form Western, because if I'd have sat you down and told you to watch something like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, you'd have fucking hated it.
Oh, yeah?
Well, you want to talk about a long movie. That movie is like 3 hours long. And there is like maybe maybe 30 minutes of it is actually like action. like a lot of Westerns fall into that, especially the older films. Not that they're bad movies. It's just films were made differently back then.
Yeah.
And whereas you have a lot more dialogue and a lot less high tension, high dollar action sequences, they can be boring.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we didn't touch on this at all this entire review. This movie is actually a remake of a Western from,
we should have said that.
1950?
1957.
Yeah. And I would like to, if I can find that somewhere, I'd like to watch that just to see,
compare
what's the same, what's different.
I'm going to tell you right
this
now,
one is probably better, but like just in terms of like the story and the characters, just to see.
I'm going to guarantee you right now that shootout sequence at the end is nowhere near as good as this one was. But yeah, not to turn you off. This might help, kind of pat your bum into the direction of some classic Westerns. Like I said, though, forewarning, there's not many old ones that are this action packed.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna hang tight together as one 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 for 310 to Yuma. Really, really good.
Yeah, no doubt. Brett, that pretty much brings us to the end of the podcast. But we have a few things.
We have a few things to touch on.
Yeah.
Some sad, some good.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and lead with?
You want to start sad? Get it out of the way?
Yeah, we can.
All right, we'll start sad. So, guys, recently, back to back, we lost two just pop culture juggernauts, really. Those two, of course, being Kevin Conroy, who is best known for his work as the Batman in like anything you've ever seen.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then we lost Jason David Frank, the original green and white Power Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah,
so you guys know how much we love Batman. And this is something when we found out about Kevin Conroy's passing, I was telling Brett, the media that when I close my eyes and think of Batman, I think of the animated series from the 90s and Kevin Conroy. That's when he first became Batman, and he really embraced that role. And just what a demanding voice.
Yeah, what a voice.
Everybody, has since then. I'm saying a lot. Everybody since then has tried to replicate this. Whenever there's been someone else voicing Batman in some kind of media, movies and stuff, and other people do great, but nobody can touch Kevin Conroy.
Absolutely not.
And as we discussed, I'll let you go ahead and touch base on it, but the broad spectrum of appearances as Batman.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say, what was so special about him is he spanned multiple generations of Batman. You had, of course, in the 90s, the animated series, and then move on into the early, mid, even towards the late 2000s, which is what we're in right now. But he, you had the animated series, and then moving into the 2000s, we had the Arkham games, which was my first experience with Kevin Conroy as Batman. And, of course, iconic, fantastic. Everyone loves the Arkham games because they're amazing games. Due a lot in part to him, reprising that performance and just doing as good as he's always done.
Right.
And it's just, like you were saying, how imposing and booming that voice is. And
Powerful.
I think what's so special about his Batman voice is, you got these live action Batman, Christian Bale and his bat growl.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck had a voice modulator.
Yeah.
Kevin Conroy didn't need any of that.
Nope.
He just sounded like Batman when he spoke.
Yeah.
So it was, it's just something, it's a huge loss that we're not going to, it's hard to think about not having that in any new projects. Yeah.
Whenever you think of voice actors, most recognizable, Kevin Conroy's got to be up there, man. Top 5.
Yeah.
He just, everybody, if you've watched any form of media that he voiced Batman in, you would instantly recognize his voice after the fact.
Oh, 100%.
It's almost like how Mark Hamill, when he voiced the Joker, he almost...
and they go hand in hand.
Yeah, he almost reinvented the Joker. And, Mark Hamill, he had some pretty sad posts about... Kevin Conroy's passing. I'm sure they were really close.
Oh yeah, I saw an interview he had done in the 90s. Maybe not the 90s, but sort of like
at some point.
Where he said whenever DC would call him about Joker, the first thing he would ask would be, "Is Kevin in?"
Yeah.
Is Kevin in?
Yeah.
He's like, if Kevin's in, then
that
I don't
tandem
need to hear,
right there.
If Kevin's in, I don't need to hear anything else. I'm in.
Right.
So,
right. And Kevin Conroy himself just was a Batman fan.
Yeah.
Very much so. not only voiced him but enjoyed the character a lot. I know he was big on making like Comic-Con appearances around the country.
Yeah.
Very tragic, very sad to lose Kevin Conroy.
And it's going to be interesting to see if Mark Hamill does continue to play the Joker in media. If you know, because the report it just won't be the same.
How old was Kevin Conroy?
Kevin Conroy was 67.
67?
Late 60s.
Okay.
He passed away from cancer, unfortunately. Fucking cancer.
Yeah. So also, like Brett already said, we also lost Jason David Frank. So Power Rangers, it's something it's probably got to be one of the longest running kids shows. I don't know if I would call it a kids show. I guess it is. One of the longest running kids shows ever, maybe. Growing up in the 90s, I watched a lot of Power Rangers. I can remember just like destroying the VHS Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie that I owned, watching it over and over and over again. And Jason David Frank was the face of the Power Rangers franchise forever. I mean, there's not a character more popular
than the Green Ranger.
The Green Ranger.
He was the coolest Power Ranger.
Everybody wanted to be the Green Ranger.
He was so
White
cool
Ranger.
that when they got rid of the Green Ranger, they brought him back.
He was the best, man. And he, another thing I loved about him was he was actually a martial artist too.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed all of that. Like I said, I watched so much Power Rangers growing up. It was a big part of me loving action movies and kung fu and martial arts. And obviously, I haven't watched any Power Rangers since then. But it's a movie that, it's a franchise that a lot of people in my age group can probably really like grasp onto. The movie that came out there, what was that, 5-6 years ago?
2017, yeah.
Okay. There was a deleted scene at the end of the movie.
It was the post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene.
I was just about to touch on the fact, that character of the Green Ranger is so integral and so like
heralded so highly.
Yes, that he was the post-credit scene of the 2017 movie, which unfortunately never got a sequel, which is a travesty.
Yeah, it's such a bummer, man. We need Tommy. Like
we do.
But then again, with that said, nobody could replace
No.
Jason David Frank as Tommy, as the face of the Power Rangers
And then when
franchise.
he would come back in the other shows as a cameo, because they like to do that a lot.
Right.
It was just like, everyone calm down. The Green Ranger is here.
Yeah, definitely stole the show for sure.
Yeah.
So rest in peace to both of those people that we have lost. We talk about media on this podcast, nerdy stuff, and both those people are
it's nice
very
to know.
important figures.
It's nice that they have this legacy behind them.
Right.
So they're we got a good part of them.
I know our podcast doesn't reach a broad spectrum, but this just reflects on them. People cared about Kevin Conroy and what he did, and Jason David Frank and what he did. So, with that said, that's pretty much it. Brett, am I missing anything here?
No. I'll run through the socials and say a little bit of better news. We won't dive into it too hard on this one because we gotta. We're nearing a very special date for us. Yeah, but I did want to say, just touch on it briefly right here. We hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. We're actually up to like 107 now. I think it climbs every day. And we have a big thing planned for the 1 year anniversary of the show where we'll touch a bit more on it and how far things have come. But I did just want to say thank you to everyone that's whether you found us of your own volition, maybe your friends talk to you about it. I know a lot of people found us through that Punisher video that exploded. We're at like 13K on that one, crazy. Which is ridiculous. But yeah, so 100 subscribers in less than a year is mind-boggling. And I know it doesn't sound big because you got these YouTubers and these shows that have like hundreds of thousands, but you put 100 people in a room that just want to sit there and listen to what bullshit you have to spit. A lot of people. That's a lot of people. Yeah. So huge thank you from both of us. Couldn't be happier with how things have panned out.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. If you know anybody else that would be interested in listening to some nerdy stuff, some goofy old movies that are just random as fuck all the time, tell your friends, tell other people to check us out. We're getting better at this every episode. And like you said earlier, I mean,
we were joking about it, but I do feel like we're definitely hitting a stride.
Yeah, every new episode is our best episode. So just keep that in mind.
But with all that being said, I'll drop the socials real quick, and we can get out of here. You can go get to your the Steelers game tonight, playing at 8:30.
Yeah, I gotta get out of here. That was my prior engagement. I gotta go watch the Steelers game with my buddy.
A football game. So just know where his priorities lie.
Goals, sorry.
But if you want to check us out elsewhere, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Real Rendezvous. You know how to spell it at this point. If you're listening to this, it's literally everywhere around your screen right now. But you can also check us out on YouTube, which is The Real Rendezvous at youtube.com. We'll upload every episode there with neat little thumbnails. There's a big playlist where you can easily find everything we do. And there you go. Maybe subscribe, like, comment, tweet at us, DM us on Instagram, tell us how much we suck. And maybe we'll respond, and then you can hang it on your wall.
Yeah, no doubt. Maybe it'll get famous someday.
It'll be worth something. So get your DMs in now.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. Tune in next time, Brett. Can't wait.
Yeah, we'll do something.
We'll get together and do something.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Later.
Adios.